call, buddy.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Hey, Ed, how's it going?
Good, man.
Hey, man. Sorry about that. The sun walked in literally as we went live.
Perfect timing, man. Perfect
Sorry.
timing.
Sorry. Good
Welcome
deal, man.
to TOYLEET Tuesday, episode 2.
Absolutely.
You have a good week, man?
Yeah, man. Busy as always, but
Yeah.
getting by, brother. Getting by.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Punk says already, I came to steal the topic for next week.
Hey,
it won't matter because he never gets to the topic anyway. And then when he does, he forgets what his topic is. So it's all
right. Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, I've been busy this week between work and just trying to spend every second I possibly can with Luke because he's gone in a week. So
yeah.
So.
For sure, man. He's definitely going to be making a journey there. So that's awesome what he's doing, man. I can appreciate it. My kid's out of the house all the time, and you know he's working all the time. You know, I still have him in right across the hall here, but totally can.
Understand. It's like when they're little, it's like you think you got all this damn time, and you got your life going on, and I was spent a lot of time with my kids, but it was like it still doesn't seem like it was enough time, and now
never enough.
Yeah, now he's like, later, Dad. And he's trying to be really cool and tough about it, but I know that's probably eating him up inside. But
right, exactly. That's how it works.
I'll let him be tough. I haven't cried yet in front of him, so it's okay. I just keep hugging him. And he's like, Dad, I'm not dying. I'm like, I know.
No, absolutely.
It might be 6 months before I get to hug you again. You never know, kid.
So, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. World can turn upside down in a day.
Even when he was like 11 or 12, he wasn't, he's never been embarrassed to, give me a hug or whatever in public or whatever. So
yep.
Good, right?
That's awesome.
So everybody, welcome to the show. We got some new layouts, some new intro, and thanks to Travis for putting all that together because he's had more time to, well, I shouldn't say more time. He's made more time this week for it than I have. Let's put it that way. So good job, brother. I love the new layout, love the new coloring and all that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're going to have some new segments that we're going to go through. We're still going to do a shout out from the Crick every week, but then we have some new segments like the TOYLEET or TOYLEET, which we'll be discussing a figure or a brand or something and kind of debating on whether it should be added to the TOYLEET category or flushed down the toilet. It's kind of funny because I never even told Ted or anybody about the toilet thing, but he brought that up on Sunday night all on his own. I was like, thanks, that works out great.
I saw that and got a kick out of it. I didn't watch the whole thing, on live just because I was exhausted and whatnot and got some rest. But I did see that and watched it. And then the next morning I saw it. So I gave him a little preview. I was like, Ed and I have been working on this as we kind of rebrand and come up with some different, approaches for the Tuesday night stream. And I just kind of thought it was funny because if you do say TOYLEET really fast a few times, it sounds like toilet. So I pointed that out to him and told him, gave him a little preview as to what we were going to have coming up. So they got a kick out of it. So it'll be cool.
So then we'll be doing some news, mostly recent news or something that's, major in the community. It could be about a channel. It could be about a toy line or a Kickstarter or TV
could be
show.
About a convention coming up,
something like that.
Absolutely.
Anything like that. So we'll be covering that. And as we go along, there'll be some more segments and stuff added to the show. So hope everybody subscribes, like the show. Jump on in, tell your friends. Because one of the other channels says, tell your friends, tell your cousins, tell your cats, tell your dogs, like and subscribe and hit the bell notification.
Absolutely.
I always thought that was pretty funny. So looks like we got a couple people in here right now. I see Fatrid showed up.
Good deal. Thank you, Fatrid. Thank you, Punk.
And what's Punk saying? I need a commercial for your show so I can play it at the end of my show to promote you guys.
I can put that on.
We could do that.
And it's it's typically after midnight, so it can be real raunchy, right, Punk?
Yeah.
Hey, Carol. So
Carol.
Obviously, most folks that are streaming in and following us right now, they already know us. You got you, ActionFigures.
Yeah.
You got me, Mr. Wonderful, Travis, and Ed. I'm Travis. He's Ed.
I think so. Anyway. I think I'm Ed. Yeah. I think that's Travis.
Yeah, so we all have the passion for toys and action figures, plastic crack, as they say, right? So You know, I have my Hexastack brand that I'm working on building out. You know, Ed have helped me a ton with things on that. You have your photography. So, you know, as you guys saw in the intro, you saw a bunch of Ed's photography. You saw some photography of things of mine, including stuff by Realm of Toys, you know, and you'll see more of that as we go along.
Yes,
Outside
sir.
outside of that, as far as you know, you had one of the first things we're going to jump into is you know, the pickups, right? So
Yep.
I know that you said you didn't get a bunch of pickups this week, but you have something coming on Friday. So hopefully during the next stream, we'll be able to take a look at that.
Yes, I got two things coming on Friday, actually.
Oh yeah, good deal. Cool. I know of one, so that'll be cool one to see. As I canceled mine, so we'll see that stuff. So I'm gonna throw it out to show you what one of my pickups is. Oh, hey Wraith. Yeah, do you actually, before we go into pickups, did you want to check the chat there? I think we
got everybody right now.
Cool.
Wraith just popped in.
Hey brother. Love the Joy Toy stuff, man.
Yeah.
And I think I saw that you may have sent or referred Punk to getting a better Joy Toy than the junk ones he had been getting, because it seemed like he wasn't too pleased with those Joy Toys that were that were kind of like the generic army builder ones. And he seems like he was fairly pleased from what I was previewing with the 40K ones. So that's good.
Which I don't know, man. I think Lawrence just has bad luck because, you know, like I got this one, right? That's the punk rock or whatever, you know, that post-apocalyptic dude.
Yeah, but he's not like an army builder one. The army builder ones that I got, they're a little bit less expensive. You got that one on a deal because they had that big sale.
Oh, that's right. I did. I got this on a sale. That's right.
I will say that I experienced, and even I saw the one video that Punk did. He had the same, you know,
I know the one guy you guys both had the same issue with.
Yeah. So. And I think that I think from what I've seen is that the plastic seems the same, but the molds don't seem as detailed and as crisp as the higher end cost products that they put out.
Probably sending it over to Cousin Eddie's, you know, factory as opposed to you know, the premier one.
Yeah. So I did get a pickup this week. I got a couple. I got some AWOCs. I got a lot. I got a ton of armor from that wave that they came out with the armor packs. And there was a couple figures I wanted to do you know, some alternative armors on and stuff. So I have those, and you know, we've seen those. They've been around for seems like forever now. But I did just get this one, so I'll go into the solo layout here and kind of highlight Mega Man. So I did get my Mega Man. I already had the Fire version.
You opened up the Fire guy, right?
I did open up the Fire guy. They're really clean. Actually, I don't have them next to me because my son came in and saw him on my desk, and he did an office raid, as I like to refer to it. So you're
gonna have to start locking that office, dude.
Exactly. So I did get this one, and I haven't opened it yet. This came from Hella Dope Toys. Obviously, big supporter of them. Go out and, you know, order your stuff from those guys. I don't know if they have any more of these in stock, but I know I like the other ones. If you're into the
so that's essentially the same figure, though, right? I mean, articulation, everything should be the same except for a little bit of difference. And
it's exactly the same. It's the same mold. You know, the eyes and stuff are very similar. The mouth, I think, is a little different. I don't have the other one in front of me, so it's hard to compare. But it's very similar. I think it came with some different hands. Because the other ones are all flames. These ones
essentially,
if
the other one's a good figure, you know, this one's a good figure too.
Yeah. And what's cool is they fit well with the Plunderlings.
Yeah.
So like they fit like right in that same like kind of scope and scale there. So they look cool. That's why I lost my Plunderlings and I don't have those in my office anymore, or the Mega Man. So I'm sure this one will get scooped for me soon enough. So,
how many Plunderlings do you have now? You got Plunderlings and Plunderlongs, right? Did you get
I don't have any Plunderlongs. I have Plunder Strongs.
Oh, Plunder Strong. That's right. You got.
I think I have 2 of the Plunder Strongs. I think I have like a big purple one or the big orange one and a big green one, I think.
Yeah.
Is what I have. And then I have 3 of the Plunderlings.
Yeah.
But I don't have any Plunderlongs. I didn't get any of those yet.
So
definitely interested in this.
Thanos on the clubhouse Saturday night was showing off a Plunderlong he just got. It was one of it was a guy that had like the old like pilot's cap, you know, with the goggles, and he has like a peg stuff. Really cool looking figure.
Okay, cool.
Real quick, Brad Dom.
Hey brother.
Howdy.
He's a great streamer too, man. Like, you know, his stuff. Every time I see it, like I'm like, man, I need an instructional video on this stuff that you built, because he just shared something, or it just came up in my streams or on Instagram. It was he had like a rock wall, like be
Oh yeah,
perfect Mythics or the Savage or the
yeah.
AWOX. And I'm like, man, I need to get to one of those.
That big dio that he's been working on. From what he says, it was something he started a while ago, and then he finally got around to starting to finish it up. That thing is
Gotcha.
gorgeous. That
Yeah,
thing would
that's
be
the one I
great
think I'm
for
talking about.
Yeah, that'd be great for some Savage Crucible or some Mythic Legions.
Absolutely.
Got that little cave area that looks like it backs. It's like it's pretty deep for being a dio, the cave too. So you can like actually have a figure kind of coming out of that, or
so much in different angles. It would seem like a whole different environment.
And his are mostly modular, so you could actually move some of the stuff around. I mean,
yeah, that was a big thing for me when you and I first started talking. It's really how you and I started connecting. I think I started asking you questions about dios and stuff and tips. I was messaging. I think
we started with the thrones, because remember I posted the throne and you were like, "Yeah, I'm building a throne for the AWOX too." And that's here we are a year later.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. almost a year to like the time frame in which I started getting into those, and that's when I started grabbing some of those Masterverse, and I was into the AWOX.
Out basically only a year though, really.
I know, man. I feel like it's been so long. I mean, I know they had the first releases and whatnot, but like they have so many like different things, and what's coming next is is in my opinion even better. So yeah, man, it's good stuff. So
I started building something. You want a sneak peek of what I've been building?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Let me go grab it real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool, dude.
2 seconds.
While you're doing that, I'm going to start talking about some of the things we have coming up, right? So next week we are both going to be off. We'll touch a little bit more on that when we wrap up today, but we'll be going live every Tuesday, same time, 9 p.m. And then next week, again, being consistent, as Punk with Toys always tells us, make sure you're consistent. We'll be off next week. Largely due in part due to some vacation on my end, where I'll be doing some travel. I do plan to hit up a couple toy stores while I'm down in Virginia Beach. I did already map those out. Maybe get a round of disc golf in while I'm down there too, and hopefully grab some recording when I'm in the toy shops. Hopefully grab some business cards and try to see if I can get some more stores interested in stocking some Hexastack.
Yes, next Tuesday is going to be a rough day for Ed. That's the day that my boy takes off for the Air Force. So I don't know if I'm going to be in the mood for streaming or not. And Travis ain't going to be around. So anyway, just to keep my mind busy, I had a bunch of scrap pieces. So I started building this like speeder bike thing.
Oh man, that looks cool.
Yeah.
That looks like the speeder bike from like the Star Wars stuff, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I kind of reminds me of
It's kind of like the one that Ray uses in the very first sequel for the Star Wars. I don't remember what the name of it is because I don't really care about those movies. But yeah, it's you can't really see a lot of the detail because it's too dark. But I got to put a couple seats on there, or a seat on there. I got handlebars that I'm making and some other things, and I'm thinking about putting some racing stripes down the sides. But like I said, I grabbed a bunch of scrap foam that I had that was all just a bunch of pieces. I was like, just need to keep my mind busy. So that's what
man, no, that's cool looking. It actually reminds me of it's a McFarlane. I don't pick up McFarlane figures, right? But unless I need to scrap off like their shoulders and stuff, like I did for one of the AWOX I wanted. I saw somebody customize, so I grabbed one. But it makes me think of like it makes me think of the it was one of their Batman ones. It was like I've seen a lot of people redo it for the Joes and stuff. And whatnot. So that's what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah, I'm gonna use it for the Space Pirate team that I'm slowly putting together. So kind of go along with that. Kind of like their boarding ship or whatever, boarding bike.
Space.
So I see Allison popped in.
Yeah.
What's up, Allison? Thank you.
Thank you for jumping in. So the next piece is our new segment. If you want to jump into that, it's
the shout out from the Crick Time.
No, shout out from the Crick Time comes after, so we don't have to make as many screen transitions.
Oh yes,
I got you.
What are we doing now?
So now it's the TOYLEET.
Oh, TOYLEET or TOYLEET.
Yep,
that's right.
So this is that new one, right? So I'll throw myself on solo, and this segment will vary. We're gonna add some things. I'm gonna get a nice little flushing sound for the future. But the idea here is that grabbing a toy, one of the more recent, probably something, you might see the Mega Man one on it in a few weeks or whatever. One of the ones, recent openings could be something I've held on to for a while. Same thing with Ed. We might have multiple, and we might flush some, and we might, champion others. But this week's is going to be the Zolocon 4 Horsemen exclusive. This is the what was his name again, Ed? I forgot it. I had it.
Warrior Beast Skullman.
Thank you. The Warrior. Yeah.
Homage.
Yeah. Homage to my lighting's a little off here. So let me.
So the Warrior Beast was kind of like Masters of the Universe. It had that same stocky, like muscle, like flexing pose is basically, all they were. And they were just in that same body style. But
okay. Like the old He-Man stuff?
Yep. Like the old He-Man stuff. Yep.
Yeah, so I thought this was cool. I really wanted it. I didn't get to go to Zolocon. Zolocon's tough, right? Because it's the time of the year where, you don't know what kind of weather you're going to get hit with. Whether you're going to get 22 inches of snow on March 23rd, which was just the other day. Well, so when they had Zolocon,
that was horrible.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, man. It sucked. So, sitting here, I wanted this figure. I wanted to go to the con. I actually wanted to get a booth there. There was a lot of really cool vendors.
But there's 2 or 3 Zolocons a year, right? A fall and a spring or something.
Yep. They have the one in the February timeframe, and then they have the one in August, and then they have one around Halloween time. I am hoping to try to secure a booth for the August timeframe, but it depends because it's that touchy time of the year, meaning it's my anniversary, and it's hard to convince the wife's supportive, but it's hard to sometimes justify that pulling away and doing that. So we'll see. But they did have the 4 Horsemen there, and they did have this exclusive, which as soon as I saw it, I was like, that looks really cool. I just like the coloring and whatnot. I thought they did a really good job. Like, I love the soft goods. They came with a bow, with the rope and everything. It's got a cool little dagger, which is really cool. So I thought it was a cool figure.
Now, are his feet actually feet, or are they white boots?
So he came with alternative feet.
Okay, so he came with alternative. Okay.
I just never switched it because I like him with the boots on.
Yeah. I was curious because I thought I saw Bricks had the actual feet on, and that's why I was wondering why yours had like boots. Yeah, that head's awesome. I love that alternate head.
Yeah, so there was the alternative head. I like the way the light one looks, but I'm sure this one looks even pretty cool.
I like the white one with the hood, but that one in the black would look great on another body, like just a knight or type of body or something.
Also came with a loose arrow, which I thought was cool. Yeah. I was a little bummed out because it comes with the quiver or whatever that thing is called.
The quill. The quiver.
The quill. Yep. Thank you. Not quiver, but quill.
It's a quiver.
And I was looking. Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah. So I was looking for that. And I was thinking of should be able to put the arrow in it, but you can't. Yeah. It doesn't have that. So I was
That's really surprising that they didn't make one hole for that, right? Because I've seen that like with simple... Marvel Legends has done that a couple of times. So
yeah, I know Bobby's mentioned it on some stuff with like Hawkeye and stuff before, and like to me, it's like an easy fix, right? Like to me, it is. Again, I don't go into the designing, but I think it's like something they missed on. You give me the loose arrow, and I know some people are going to display it in action on the bow. Yep. But I like the idea of not having it there because I feel like it'll fall and drop.
Well, that's one of the things. Like Mythic Legions does a really awesome job. They have a little bit limited articulation on some of their figures, but the sculpting and the paint totally makes up for that. But like one thing that I think most of the classified figures excel at is that you can put every single accessory that you get, unless it's extra hands or an extra head, on the body. All the weapons, all the stuff can be stowed on the actual figure. So.
Yeah. So, when I look at this, I would not flush it by any means. I'm happy with it.
All right.
No, I'll give it the first. It's our first inaugural TOYLEET.
TOYLEET number 1.
Yeah. So TOYLEET number 1. We'll keep track of what goes in the toilet. Yeah. And we'll keep a track of what goes into TOYLEET, and we'll do a little end of the year, recap on what goes in where, and then we'll vote to which one gets officially nominated into the TOYLEET Hall of Fame every year. Yeah. But basically. That one, it's a 4 Horsemen figure. I really enjoy them. They do a great job with, like you said, the accessories, the color, the paint apps, all that stuff. The thing that always leaves me with something left is that articulation is not quite where I want it to be. But outside of that, I'm
still waiting to get my hands on that new Knight figure with the extra articulation built in.
Oh, okay.
I really want to see how that one is, but
yeah, absolutely.
They've been sold out, so I haven't been able to grab one. I'm not paying.
Yeah. Oh, man, aftermarket's crazy. Yeah, so I'm not I'm not disappointed with it. I would definitely give it the TOYLEET. It doesn't get the flush. I've had toys that I would definitely flush. None of them from Four Horsemen yet, so
Yeah.
we'll see. But yeah, no, it's a good figure.
Awesome. So that's TOYLEET number 1.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have too many toilets, but I'm sure there's going to be a couple this year.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I mean, if Hella Dope Toys comes out with anything on their own, that's going to the toilet. I mean, the only reason Punks wouldn't go in the toilet because his best figure would be Roman the dog.
Right.
But
well, if there was a 2-pack, everybody just throw the Punk figure away and keep Roman.
If they were sold on Amazon, they just get reboxed.
They just use the Punk figure as fodder for bodies for the zombies to eat and stuff like
exactly.
that. Exactly. Right. So
exactly.
Real quick, Mr. Darklaw showed up. What's up, Ted? And Nolan popped in. What's up, Nolan? And
awesome.
Hyperdelic showed up.
Yeah, thank you for jumping on.
Yeah, Remco's Gold Dude. Yeah, that was a good homage to that figure. For sure.
Yeah, I like it. I'm happy with it. I mean, he's going to be, I feel like he's like the face of death for my Savage Crucible at some point. Like, I feel like he'll be a good stooge for my Savage Crucible figures in some of the, hopefully, eventual photos that I'll take. Hey, Payne.
What's up, Payne? Thanks for stopping in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll definitely make, I mean, I know that Savage and I know Savage and Four Horsemen, they're trying to do their own things, but those figures lines are going to go so well together. It's
absolutely.
Everything's going to be used for them together. So for
sure, definitely, good deal, man. So that's our first TOYLEET or toilet, and nothing got flushed. So that's a key, right?
Flushed, yeah.
Exactly.
So what we'll do is we're going to keep track of those, right? And at the end of the year, the number 1 toilet flusher we'll take over to Ted's house and we'll flush it down the toilet for real. I'm not ruining my plumbing, but we'll ruin Ted's plumbing. It'll be okay.
We should send it down to Ted, and we should let Moss Man do a scene with flushing him down the toilet at the end of the year.
That's a good idea. That's what we'll do.
But it's got to be
it's the toilet.
Absolutely cool, man. So I think the next piece is going to be your you want to do the shout out from the crick. So I'll go ahead and flip over to that.
Right,
brother.
Shout out from the crick.
Okay.
So this week's shout out from the crick is for Brick Something. Brick's a really, I mean, the shows that Brick puts together on Sundays for his, it's called the BS News, but it's kind of just, ephemera that he saw throughout the week that, whether it's people's photographs or new stuff, comic books, movies. He covers a little bit of everything with his BS News. Most of it's toy related, but there are some other things in there. But Brick puts on a really good show. He usually has a guest with him. I've been a guest on that show. Punk's been on there. I don't know who else. I know Oz has been on there and a couple other people. But he just goes through the stuff and then puts the links to all the stuff. So if you find something that you want, I call it the enabler show, because every time he has something, I always want to buy it. And
right.
So, he shows off a lot of good stuff, but he does a lot of good shorts on his YouTube with all the new figures that he gets, doing the little spinner around thing with some great music choices. So yeah, definitely check out Brick. He's getting really close to 900. I think he was at like 848 or 849 when I checked earlier today. So let's get him up to at least 900 or 1,000, and then we stop over there and like Brick's channel.
Yeah, and just to add to that, and this is just because I'm a huge fan of AWalk, he and he's not only does he do his own shows where he's just doing but he's doing reviewing all the news and hyping up all the Kickstarters and the free, the independent toys and whatnot, 5K toys, things like that. But he also does that AWalk talk stuff and the stuff with Highly Articulated over there, and they have one of the. And again, I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that I love AWalk, but they have one of the more enjoyable shows that I like to watch and catch up on. I don't often catch it live just because it's in the middle of my Sunday, but it's definitely something I always try to jump into and pick up during the week when I'm working and can listen to something, on the way to the office or while I'm sitting there focused on other things. It's very entertaining. Brick is an awesome dude, and on top of that, he's always in the community. He's always championing folks and driving things forward. So just a generally all around cool dude.
And he's got great hair.
Yes, it's great hair and that voice. He's got that soothing voice, which we're all envious of. But awesome work, Brick, and continue to like and subscribe over on Brick's channel.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man.
Yeah, he'll be doing the tour with the AWalk group. I saw they got a bunch of promotions coming up this week and next week, I think. So he'll be on with Jason from Spiro Toys and Adam from Highly Articulated, and I think a couple other guys are going to be popping in and out. So
I saw that. Yeah, saw that a few hours ago. So
yeah, so it'll be good stuff, man. Yeah, so check out Brick. If you haven't liked his stuff or given him a follow or a sub on IG or YouTube, definitely go and do that for him. Try getting him some up there.
Good deal. Cool. Yeah. So the next piece here is, and we're gonna update some of these slides. I don't have any, transitions to it, but we're gonna jump into the news. So this is kind of just like recent news, things like that. And this week it just so happens that the things I'll be covering happen to be independent toy lines on Kickstarter, giving some updates on them. Savage Crucible was down at Toylanta, and we'll go ahead and show off some of the pictures that I grabbed off their Instagram today. If you haven't seen them and you haven't followed Savage Crucible, go check it out. It's, in my opinion, one of the coolest lines coming. I have backed it so deep, I don't know what I'm going to do to crack this show up, but I will be cracking plastic for sure when those things come up. And every time I see a picture,
I want you to take a picture of the box that shows up at your door when they deliver those to you.
Luckily, it's coming in waves and not all 3 waves.
I could just see like a truck backing up with like a fork truck dropping off a box on a pallet with all your food.
Yeah, that line is something that I'm really committed to. So you got some of the and I always forget the name, Lemurians, I think is how they pronounce it, or something along those lines. But you got some of those. You see some additional ones. Kind of looks, it's so detailed. You look at that face, you see the teeth, and it looks like the jaws articulating. The claws. The thing that I think is cool is those tails. Each one of them's got different types of tails. You can extend them from what they've said. You can disconnect, and it's kind of modular. There's still something
they even got the scales, like for the skin sculpted into the into those figures, right? That's just crazy stuff to me.
Yeah, like you just look at that, you see that sword there. There was a picture I saw later today, before it was too late to snag it and put it in here, but they showed you, I think it was under like a neon light or a black light or something, one of the swords here that one of the guys is holding. It's off in the back there. I don't know if you guys can see it on my screen, but like where this blue light's covering, there's like this neon colored sword. Looks almost like it's on fire, but with a black light, it like it glows or whatever. So it's really cool. You can see a few more of these, as I call them, they're just the lizard people. You can see there's like a gnome or a dwarf here behind them. So those are coming at some point, which look really cool.
So you didn't bring up one of the full pictures of the dwarf because I told you I liked it. So you said
no. Yep. No, I love the dwarf. The reason I didn't is because I didn't know where those photos came from.
Yeah.
These ones were directly from Savage Crucible, and I didn't want to mess up giving credit to somebody or anything like that. So I was hesitant to post those. But
What's
as
up,
I get more. Hey guys, thanks for jumping in.
Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, so that's Savage Crucible. Again, those things are coming. I can't wait. We'll definitely have some TOYLEET or TOYLEET on those for sure. I'm sure they're not going to end up in the toilet. I really can't imagine them with as good as they look.
If after everything you've done about Savage Crucible, if any of them end up in the toilet, I'm just going to be the toilet and take the figure for you because.
Yeah, I highly doubt they're going to be that. They look so good. Like they look like everything I want them to be from what I've seen. Seen some of them in person. So yeah, cool, man. So that's the Savage Crucible.
Realistically, I think Savage Crucible will be the first line that competes with Mythic Legions on all the detail in the paint and all that stuff, right? Like there's some great stuff that comes from 5K Toys, but those are usually like one-offs or a couple figures from a thing, right? And they're not licensed or whatever, right? But for like an actual IP that's individual, I think Savage Crucible is going to give Mythic a good run for their money, which is a good thing because they'll both have to just keep doing better for all of us, right?
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that what you see and maybe that, because I mean that second body for the, what was it, the Knight you said, right? Like the Knight 2.0, like that articulation is supposed to be improved. And my only complaint, and I told you this a year ago when I got my first Four Horsemen Mythic Legion figure, was, oh man, I was like, is this normal articulation for these? Because it seems a little, and I know it has a lot to do with this pop and swap and customization. They have some of the coolest looking figures that I've seen. I love some of the customs, so I love that it offers that. But they're definitely I'm a big articulation nut, so if it doesn't have a lot of it, it's at times can be a little frustrating for me. But I still buy them. I still like them. That's the thing with Savage. They're going to push them because if their articulation ends up being everything that's promised to be, the deco and everything on these, they they're right there. So
Yep.
it's just going to up the other team's game, and it's hopefully it just continues to improve upon it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why they went back to the drawing board and made the knight the new knight, because it's their body, 2.0 or whatever it is. I'm sure that's one of the reasons was just to get it, see how it worked, and get it out there, see what people thought about it, and now they can, move forward with that body going forward. So
I just saw this in the chat, and it gives me a little laugh here. The dolly, because
it's got an official name now. It's called the Blue Mule.
I have the same one, but it's black, and I bought it back. I want to say in October, maybe September of last year, in preparation for Legion's Con, because I was carrying totes into PowerCon last year. And I was like, I need the dolly. And now, I mean, I took it out. I was like, man, this is small. This isn't going to work the way I wanted it to. But I'm like, oh, maybe it'll work. But seeing the things that Ted talked about, I'm like, I don't know that I'm ever even going to waste my time pulling that dolly out. Yeah.
Yeah, I officially named Ted's the Blue Mule. So, mules are supposed to carry a lot, and that one's definitely not carrying anything.
Yeah, good deal. So then we have what's this here? So Nicole did the Paint Masters of Savage Cruel, so well known as Mythical. Yeah, I did see that. I've seen her on a number of streams promoting it. So yeah, the stuff looks great. The next one here is going over the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. So I just wanted to, pull that up. And this is about 10 hours ago or whatever, the screenshot. They're just under 174. They might have broken that at this point.
What was their original goal?
99,000.
99,
so they were,
yeah. So they're blowing by that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We got a bunch of unlocks. There's so many more unlocks to come though. So I'm really hoping, I was hoping that after I jokingly said in some of the forums, I'm like, hopefully, at Toylanta, I come in and log in on Monday and I see all of the new ones. We already unlock everything. It didn't do quite that, but again, they still have 21 days to go. As you alluded to earlier, Brick and Crew, was posting and Adam was posting, or highly articulated, better yet. We're posting about the upcoming kind of tour de walk or whatever you want to call it, where they're going to be promoting the stuff over the course of the next week or so. So hopefully it picks up some more steam.
What I've been saying about AWalk though is like, I don't think enough people know about AWalk, right?
Yeah.
Like those of us that are in the 112th community that kind of, hang around with everybody all know about it. But like Ted and Aaron were saying, there's a lot of people that were walking up to them at that Columbus Toy Show saying, well, what's this AWalk thing, right? It's cool, but what is it, right? They don't know it. But like, so I don't know how Jason can break that line or break into the general knowledge, but like if they got it out there, I think so many more people would jump into it just because of the designs, the animal, anthropomorphic nature of it. And then the sculpts and stuff are just great, right? I mean,
so, well, like I told you,
with this next Kickstarter going, it'll get better publicity and really get launched out there. So
yeah, like what I told you is one of the things, because I love the line, I love the stories, and the comics and stuff, and supporting a local comic book shop. I have one here. My son orders a ton of stuff. My oldest, I always pick him up from about once a month. It's a massive order of comics that he collects. So I had them add the AWalk to it just last week after that convention I went to last week. So what I'm gonna do is when I was there, I talked to him and I said, hey, I want 2 of them every month. One of them for myself. One of them I want you to give away to somebody every month. Just give somebody, one of those. So as long as he keeps getting them in, I kind of donating one to the cause for folks to hopefully, anybody that he thinks is interested in, a new comic and a new line, that type of thing. So hopefully folks can get in there.
So I brought this up for Briscoe because that dude is a chameleon and his eyes are actually going to be articulated. Yep. You can actually move the eyes like the actual, or that's a chameleon, right? Is that chameleon?
Yeah. I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, I think it's a chameleon.
It's a chameleon. Yeah. So like just like the real animal, the eyes can actually move separately. So you'll be able to do that. And then these lizards, I believe, are going to have articulated tongues.
They have removable, swappable tongues. I don't know about the articulation in them, but I know that they are removable. Yeah. So they have like 3 or 4 different heads for them. And I think the head pack got released for it. So there's like a snake head, there's like armored head, things like that. So it looks really cool. And with the tongue removable is even cooler.
Yes. Oz confirms it's a chameleon. Thanks, Oz.
Awesome. Cool.
Yes. And Hyperdelic, we all feel this pain. So we all know because there's so much stuff out there. Travis and I talk about this last week. There's just so much stuff out there. It's not even.
Yep.
It's just crazy nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah. So the next one here is the again. Oop, did I do that right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So again, 21 days or so to go on that. If you haven't backed it, get out there and epic all in it. You're going to get the most amazing benefits of that. Your price point drops, drastically for everything. So you're going to definitely want to, if you're going in, you might as well go epic all in. That's the way I say.
That's the other issue with toy collecting is the room for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Um, the next one is Champion. I went with Champions of Neferity because that's like the branding and
Yeah, that's
that I was
the
seeing on
overall
his.
thing. Yep, for
Yeah.
sure.
So this is for the Flip War. I think he's got about 4 or 5 days left. This was taken this morning. I'm really, really impressed with the community support behind this one because it was like a one-off figure. To hit $182,000 for that, I think a lot has to do, and it says a lot about people's trust in Mad Hatter, but additionally the idea and concept of potentially getting other tuber toy lines and like of these, but then additionally Ramen being backing it, I think helps give it that support that maybe others weren't getting, that are toy YouTubers and have been around a lot longer. So very interesting one for
Yeah,
me.
I mean, Hatter's got himself aligned with some big channels on top of his own, right? So
Yep.
I mean, like Nostalgia Unboxed and the 3POA and some other bigger channels that
Mega J.
yeah, Mega J, all kind
Yep.
of aligned. And this is a story that's been in development for like 2 years now or something like that, a year
Yeah.
and a half, 2 years, right? So
I still go back to the fact that I had the prototype in hand and I didn't
I
freaking
know,
know it.
right?
Like I'm a piece of this story and nobody even knows
Yeah.
it. I was
Yep.
I brought it from Ohio to New York just so I could spend some time up here, and then I
Yep.
sent it out to where Mad Hatter is, and sent it across the country to him. So
Yep.
he was able to get that. So yeah, I didn't know what it was. It was like it's like one of those things, like it's in the box. I didn't know what it was. Didn't look in
You
it.
got to give Hatter props too, because he basically just started streaming just to get out what he wanted to say about like toys and stuff, right? I mean, he does it from this tiny little rinky dink room in his house. He's got the
Yeah.
cat litter going and the heater behind him and stuff like that, right? And like he's grown his channel like exponentially. It's crazy. So good on him.
Yeah.
And then to have
Yeah.
this be such a success, I'm happy for him.
Absolutely. Yeah. The next one here, again, 4 or 5 days if you haven't backed it. I don't know all of the different tiers and stuff. I'm not as close to that one, but community guy, with Ramen backing it and helping driving it, it'll be interesting to see it come to fruition for sure. The next one's the Galactic Valor. That one just started a few days ago. I don't know how many days it's been going, but they got about 28 days. They're at about $30,000, which is still, that's a good number. They're only looking to get to 80 is their initial goal.
Yep.
I have my, feedback on these. I'm not a huge fan of them myself. They look cool. They just don't necessarily fit into my space. Maybe someone that, like Hyperdelic, I think mentioned these in Cosmics. Maybe these would align really well
So
with
these would
those.
fit great with what I like. Like I told you before
Space
when we
Pirates.
talked about this originally, like a few weeks ago, I don't like the way the feet are all the same. That's just an issue of mine, right? And I
Yep.
get it. You're trying to reuse as many bucks and all that stuff to save
Yep.
pricing as possible. I get that point, right? The thing I do like though is that they have the unlock of like the security robot looking dude that's got
I
like
saw
regular
that.
boots.
Yep.
And then if it gets even farther, they have the big mount ape
Yep.
looking thing. But like
Yeah,
as
I
far as
saw
the
that.
aliens go, I would love these figures. I would just
Yeah.
have to replace the feet on them because
On some of them, maybe one of them, like
like
that, the one in the
that one on
middle.
the end that looks like a lizard, those feet are fine, right? The
Yeah.
other, like a couple of them that look like they just need regular boots. So
Yeah, and if you can swap the ones from that what
yeah,
is it, the stretch goal, that
yep,
would be really cool. Yeah. I
absolutely.
mean, it's not what I'm if I was more into, sticking with the Cosmics, which I'm kind of
Yeah.
like I've got some coming. I don't know if I'll stay in with them, not because they're bad or anything. I'm trying to rein in where I'm going and if it fits into what I'm looking for. But these
You're
would be
definitely
great
more into the
Cosmics.
fantasy,
Yeah,
Conan, Mythic Legion, Savage Beast
exactly.
stuff, right? For
Yep.
sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, so 28 days for that. Get out there and back it.
This is
I
probably
know.
something I'll do, once they do get released. I'm probably not going to jump in on the Kickstarter. If I do, I'll
Yeah,
probably be for one figure, but
gotcha.
I'll definitely probably order one just to see it, and of course we can always
Yep.
do a TOYLEET and TOYLEET or TOYLET
Yeah.
with it. So I know Ted had a couple of the they had like Fox Forge like Space Marine type figures.
Yep.
Right. And I know Ted got a couple of those. He said they were decent, for like
Okay.
background characters or whatever, right? So I'm sure these guys are probably a little bit better than those were, because those were like really cheap, like $12.99 1/12 scale figures or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Good deal. So that's it for the news this week. And there's tons of people doing Marvel, tons of people doing McFarlane. You can check out Punk with Toys if you want all that stuff, and
Yeah.
the deeper dive into all that stuff. We'll cover that stuff from time to time when there's something big and we like and whatnot. But myself, Ed, a lot of what we collect now is that independent line stuff, the Kickstarter stuff that's going. We obviously have some things. I still got my WWE Mattel figures and whatnot. Things that are close to home, but the news is on these cool independent lines and seeing how it goes, and predicting and hopefully seeing some of those succeed. So yeah, that brings us to our main topic, which is going to be the top 5 show toy lines needed, right? So, Ed, you went ahead and you picked out, your top 5, and we'll do a countdown from 5 to 1 being our most, desired, pick. And I have my top 5. Believe it or not, I've seen it. I think you've seen my selections. I think we only had one overlapping, line that we'd like to see.
There's a few in yours that I was like, ooh, those would definitely, like, if I was doing a top 10, they would definitely make my top 10, right?
Yeah, there was a few that I had that like would have been like honorable mentions, but I figured save that for like another time.
Yeah, I had a couple honorable mentions in there that and one I thought of today that Allison and I were talking about, and I was like, damn, that would have been one that I should have put in there, but it's like, we'll do it another one.
So we'll go ahead and get started on that, and let you go ahead and speak to the first one. So we got you up first here, and I'll just kind of introduce that. So you've got Johnny Quest.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Like in a top 5 order for me, like any of these top 5 would probably be like something I would be completely all in on, right? So I wouldn't say they're going like an actual top 5 order, but definitely like toy lines that I've been wanting for a long time. I picked Johnny Quest because Johnny Quest was just a great adventure-based TV show. They saved the world so many times, and I'm a big fan of all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So really anything Hanna-Barbera that was, the superhero stuff like Space Ghost, Blue Falcon, all those guys would be awesome. But I think Johnny Quest would just be cool because you could get some like more civilian type characters, but have a good storyline with them. And give a good range for their villains and stuff were always great. They had mummies and monsters and all sorts of stuff that they actually battled against. So Johnny Quest was a great cartoon done by Hanna-Barbera in the 70s, and I watch it still pretty regularly, once a week at least, one of the episodes. So
that's an interesting one to me, because it actually was one of my honorable mentions. I actually shifted that one off of mine, because and this is the reason it was in my radar. Is the same thing Briscoe mentioned. Oops, sorry.
No, you're okay. I was just seeing what. Go ahead.
Oops, sorry. So Briscoe here had said that he had made Johnny Quest. They made the Johnny Quest figures for the '90s reboot.
Yeah.
So for me, the '90s reboot is the one. My dad got me into the one from the earlier, I don't know, 60s or 70s, whenever it was. So I definitely saw those. But in the '90s, there was the reboot, which I was big into, and there was some other stuff right around that time. They had like the James Bond Jr.
Yeah, James Bond Jr. was out. Yep.
Yeah, so it was kind of all around that. So this was one that was, one that I thought was interesting. And with the, and the big thing for me is, and my list is from the least ranked at the 5 all the way down to my most wanted at number 1. But I would, like yourself, I would get any one of these lines if
that's another good point too, right? Like, first of all, we should have a caveat to this, that some of these actually had some figures made, but these are lines that I want to see, like a modern day 1/12 scale figure made. But like with the Johnny Quest, right? You could do Johnny Quest from the original show, and then you could do a separate, second wave 2 of the updated version from his, 2000 or late 90s, whatever that show was.
And honestly, I'd like to see the have a retro one, and you could do this like the Joes, right? Like give your little nostalgia retro ones, but then also, I would prefer, the 1/12 scale. That's my favorite. Sure. From a world building opportunity, definitely the 4-inch scale is going to be allow for a lot more diversity there. But what I like is the articulation. I like the deco, and
the only
that,
benefit to
the
go on
ability.
1/18th was you could actually make the jet that they flew
Right.
around in. That'd be
Right.
pretty badass to have, right?
Yeah. Let's like so. When I look at this, is to me the Johnny Quest one is really cool because, like you said, you get some unique body molds. You get a teenager, skinnier.
Yep.
Like because you think about that the two characters there, and I always forget Johnny's friend's name.
Haji.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So maybe, if they had, done like the old retro style, then do like the 90s and then give me like a 2024 version and, something, I'm sure the 90s to 24 is going to be a little different, maybe not massive, but it would be interesting. And then, you got some suited areas, and you could just do fillers and stuff. It would be a cool line
there was always
to fill things
military
out.
guys in there. There was always awesome villains, right, in all of their shows, right? So you could
Yep.
do top villains and stuff like that, right? So
Yeah. Absolutely. So that was yours.
Yep.
And again, my order is what I would want most to, least to most
Yeah.
out of them. I want them all either way, but the next one, so for me is going to be on the Toxic Crusaders. That was a big cartoon. And it's actually one of the toy lines besides the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I had. It's one of the ones I remember as a kid having, like at Christmas, like my cousin had them all and he got them all one year for Christmas, like everything from that wave or whatever was out. And I got sporadic ones in there, but like a lot of them, and they were really cool to me. So like I loved, these. And I think I've seen things. I don't know who it is, maybe NECA or one of those lines does at Walmart, like with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They have one, I think, that looks like the Toxic Crusader. I thought it was a Toxic Crusader.
They did do the Toxic Crusader, but I think it was like a one-off, and I think it was
Yeah.
NECA, or it might play. It was something to do with, maybe it was with the Turtles. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it was in like the same box art and stuff that they did a bunch
Yeah.
of the cartoon Ninja Turtles on.
Yeah.
I'd like to see these done, but I'd like to see them in more of like an AWOC style,
for sure.
articulation and mold and whatnot. I just think, the enhanced articulation with the dynamic poses would allow for a lot more playability and whatnot. You got a ton of characters from Toxie with the mop. You could, have the villains like Dr. Killmoff and, different things. You could have the Psycho with the chainsaw wielding, all that stuff. So I think it'd be a really cool line to see. My guess is that it's one of those lines that you're not going to get a lot behind, just because unless they did a reboot of the cartoon, it's it's only going to go so far.
Yeah, even if the cartoon got re-released, I think you're only going to see the main character, right? It's funny because there's a lot of people that really like the Toxic Crusader, but like I don't think it's popular enough to relaunch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I remember the colors and like there was so much.
I remember I was too old for it. Not I should say.
Okay.
I mean, like it was after my like I always collected figures, but it was out of my nostalgia thing, right? Like so, a lot of the figures I kept on collecting after I was past playing and just in collecting were still G.I. Joe and things like Star Wars, right? So but I remember the cartoon. I remember seeing the figures like in the store and thinking they were cool looking and stuff. But
yeah, I feel like and when I think back to them, like, and I don't collect retro toys like with limited articulation and stuff. So for me, it's not the same. So when I prefer, and I know I've heard folks say like, "Are you really a collector if you don't have the retro?" Well, to me, I like the retro stuff. Like that's what I remember. But I prefer the modernized versions just because the articulation and the detail and the art has advanced so much.
I'm asking you if you're a collector because of this or that. It's just like Lawrence's topic last night, gatekeeping, right? Because like if you're a collector, you could start collecting, Matchbox today's. If you start collecting, you're collecting, right? It doesn't matter. You don't have to go back and collect vintage.
Yeah, that's true, right? So for me, that's where I stand. So that was one that I would like to see, and it would be cool. I think that's a highly unlikely one we'll see in a full capacity by a really good group there. So as Oz says, you're a collector if you collect what you like.
Yep.
So
hell, I collect rocks. I mean, I don't go back to like prehistoric time and find rocks.
Yeah. So then we'll go on to number 4 here for you, Axion, and then we've got you with Sherlock here.
Oh man, I love Sherlock Holmes. Big fan of the books and the stories, and I really enjoyed this show. I really enjoyed the Robert Downey Jr. movies too, right? So my thought was like you could do Sherlock Holmes figures with a couple of these different versions of these guys, right? Because they did a couple of they have, they're always wearing basically the same modern clothes, but they have an episode where they go back to the late 1800s in that version. Then you could also do, figures from the Robert Downey Jr. movies, and then some of the original black and white movies and cartoons that they did back in the day, right? You could do a whole Sherlock Holmes type
Now,
of
Now, I had a question for that because, the previous two were cartoons, so it's easy, right? Like it's cartoon characters. So the likeness would be of that of the cartoon. With the Sherlock selection here, would it be the likeness of the actors and stuff from the shows and the
it'd
movies,
be
or would it
awesome to
just
do it that way, but you could
yeah,
also do, like if they did the old cartoons, those are basically just, a
yeah.
Sherlock with his fox hunting hat and
Yep.
that kind of thing, right? But there was a 1/6 scale version of these two made
Oh,
in
okay.
from the episode where they went back to the 1800s and
Okay.
were in like the coon, the old style clothes and all that, right? The
Yeah.
vintage clothes and all that. So,
And
but they
just
were
so I
expensive.
know,
They were like 200 and $300 or whatever they were.
gotcha. And I've never seen this show, but that's Doctor Strange and the officer from the MCU, right? Those two guys.
Yeah.
I
So
think they're
this
both in
guy,
MCU.
this is the guy that played the Hobbit, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
he did the voice of Smog,
Yep.
right? And Benedict Cumberbatch was in a ton of movies, but yeah, he was
Yeah.
in he played Doctor Strange,
Yep.
and he was in the UK version of The Office. He was the Michael Scott character. So
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
he was in Fargo, one of the
Okay.
seasons of Fargo. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. So I asked because I've got a selection later on, which is also,
Yeah.
a
So Sherlock was I think it had basically 3.5 seasons, but a really good show. So they kind of took the original stories of Sherlock from the novels back from the 1800s, right?
yeah.
And put them into modern times in London, right? So like
Okay.
the stories were kind of the same premise, but done in a modern fashion, right? So
Gotcha. That's cool. Yeah, so I feel like a lot of this would be like, army builder, civilian filling, characters and stuff, I assume, not being as close to it. You're not going to have any mythic characters, I assume, right?
right,
It's going
yeah,
to be
it's
mostly
all it's
real.
all very reality based, right? I
Yep.
mean, like I said, it's one of those things like it definitely be a niche type of thing because there's not many people that they'd be great suited characters, right? Because Sherlock is always wearing a suit,
Yep.
Holmes is always wearing a suit. But then if you started bringing in like the 1800 stuff and some of the characters from like the Robert Downey Jr. movies and all that stuff, there's some cool villains and things like that, and some fantastical things like the Hounds of Baskerville was
Gotcha.
basically like a werewolf thing, but it ended up not
Okay.
being really a werewolf. So it's kind of they could do sort of
You could play around with it.
yeah, you could play around with it, right? Kind of make it a
That's
little
cool.
bit exaggerated or whatever, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So that's your four. I'm gonna go into my four, and my fourth one here is Black Star. So
Oh
this
yeah.
one, I did a little research on. I was looking at things, trying to pull back things I remembered. This one I vaguely remembered, but I thought it looked really cool, and I thought this would fit in cool with a lot of the lines that I like today. So this one, I did some research on it, and it was talked about being closely tied to like He-Man.
Yep.
This could be one that is pulled into the Masters of the Universe lines and stuff at some point, similar to some of the other toys. So this one, I feel like could be an ease we could potentially
I
see
had
down
some
the
of the
road.
original John Blackstar action figures from back in the day.
Okay.
I loved them, dude. They were so
Yeah.
every good guy came with one of the Trobits, which are basically like the hobbits, right? They're just short little
Yep.
dudes. And then every villain came with like this demon looking thing that was just badass. So
And I saw the dragon in the photo and it reminded me of it. And I was like, that would be cool. So, if you could get that. And
oh
and
yeah.
I feel like this character could be very much so made, in the Masterverse line and
Yeah, I
stuff.
think
Or whatnot.
Thanos Copter has it's either a He-Man based custom or
Oh,
a
okay.
Mythic Legions based custom Blackstar. But yeah,
Okay.
pretty badass looking still. So
Yeah.
yeah, this line would
Yeah.
fit perfectly with Mythic and Cosmic easily, right?
Yep. Yep. So I mean, like, because you could get the warlock, the dragon, or
Oh
whatever
yeah.
here, things like that. Could really expand it. I had a couple notes on here. You could have Overlord's minions and stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff you could add into it. It could really just be, like an extension of the
Black Star was
Masterverse line.
definitely like a He-Man type a show, right? So there was
Yep.
basically Black Star and then his two companions, and the 7 Trobits, right? And then you have Overlord with all of his different villains, right? And you could definitely flesh out a line easily.
Yeah.
And it'd be super popular. So I'm surprised every day that someone hasn't already done Black Star.
Yeah. And I mean, that said, you have a shared reference on this, so we'll cover this a little bit more on one of the next slides too. So you probably could speak to it a little bit more than I can. Because it was a vague memory of mine. So the next one is your number 3, or one of the top 3 that you've had, and that's Tarzan, which I thought that was a great one because again it fits right in with a Savage Crucible type line for me. And
so there's been a lot of kick-ass Tarzan movies, right? There's been some TV shows and made for TV movies back a long time ago, right? Always like Tarzan. Loved a lot of the novels, right? I didn't read all of them, but a lot of them I have read. But this cartoon was something that really was like, it was only on for a season by Filmation back in the day, right? But like in my head for the longest time, I've told this story on Oz's channel. In my head for the longest time, there was always this like cartoon monkey, and I could never remember what it was from. And then one day I was watching some YouTube like compilation of cartoons from the 70s or 80s, and this Tarzan was on there, and that was what the monkey was from. And now it's like his little, companion, right? I was like, that's the damn monkey. So it's like,
yeah.
But Tarzan, like they had Tarzan figures from when Tarzan, the Legends of Greystoke was a movie back in the 80s, right? That was a wild Tarzan movie. And they had figures out then, and I had a couple of them. I absolutely loved them, right? They were just cool figures. So
yeah,
there for a second.
Yeah.
Am I back?
Yeah, you were cutting in and out a little bit. I don't know if it was on me. You were kind of cutting out, but the idea there.
I think that was me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean,
so yeah,
me,
they had really
that's a cool one
back then. It would definitely be awesome, right? To see like a modern articulated 1/12 scale Tarzan figure would be so cool.
Tarzan. So I see Briscoe said, does it piss anybody else off? Basically, when people say Tarzan, like Tarzan, I've never heard that one.
I've never heard anybody say it that way, but yeah.
But yeah, I think Tarzan would be a cool one for sure. Yeah, definitely one, and not one that I thought of as far as the my top choices, but it was definitely one that I thought was cool. The next one I'll probably get cheese bombed for. This one is just one that, to me, it brings back my early mornings when I was in middle school and I would watch it on replay. My number 3, Captain Planet. And I got a story I'll add to this, which is just makes it even more hysterical. So I've always liked Captain Planet. I loved it when I was a kid. It's cheesy. You had the bad guy. You had, you always had somebody trying to poison the city and, do something to the world and, throw litter. And then you had like the 5 characters and their rings and where our powers combined, we, Captain Planet. So like really nerd out for it. I just think in today's, and again, this probably falls in the same bucket as the Toxic Crusaders. It probably have to be like a retro Saturday morning cartoon line or something where they're just throwing in some from different lines and sprinkling them in. But there's a bunch of characters you can do. You got the 5 Planeteers. You've got a bunch of different Captain Planets. I can't remember what his name was, but you had the alternative version of Captain Planet, which was like the anti-Captain Planet, which I thought was cool. You had Hoggish, Greedley, different characters like that. I got a couple notes here. Dr. Blight, I think it would be a cool line to have, because I'm a nerd and I think the colors stand out to me and it brings back a time when I was a little kid. So Superman was a knockoff. And if you think about it, after Captain Planet had his alter version of Captain Planet, I can't remember what his name is. I'll have to look it up. Then Superman came out with his reverse Bizarro, and that was just a knockoff of Captain Planet's arch enemy there. So yes, Punk, you're 100% right. That is perfect.
Let me tell you something. When I was younger and this cartoon was on, like I've always loved cartoons, right? I've been a big cartoon freak my whole life. I hated Captain Planet.
Really?
As a teenager, right? Whenever it came on, I was just like, oh God. and it was just like, I don't know what rubbed me the wrong way with it as a teenager, but it was just, maybe it was just a good positive message, when I was in my rebellious teenage stage, right? And it was like,
Right.
I've watched it now as an adult. It's definitely a
It's
decent
cheesed.
cartoon, and I enjoy it, right? I don't hate it anymore, I'll tell you that
right.
much. But back when I was a teenager, I absolutely hated this cartoon.
Yeah. So they had I just went and looked, and it was Captain Pollution was the bad guy. that was the Bizarro that was Bizarro, who was the knockoff of Captain
Put
Pollution.
some deep thought into the names of these guys.
Exactly. So like, just to add to that, so as a kid, I grew up watching Captain Planet, right? And that's that whole generation of Dare and Do What Smokey Says and all that stuff in the early 90s, late 80s or whatever, and
you're welcome.
And,
my generation created that for you.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Like, you don't litter and stuff. And so fast forward, I'm doing independent wrestling, and it's me. We're headed out to a show in Boondocks, Vermont, and it's like 4.5 hour away ride. And what you always do in independent wrestling is you always try to get folks together, to save on gas and tolls and stuff. So I had a trainer and a coach guy who's he wrestled in Japan a lot. He did tours in Japan, wrestling for a number of places. He took a liking to me, and trained with me and really helped coach me up. So I was like, hey, Shockwave, you want to go with me? And he was like, yeah, I'll go. And he's like, he's got enough room for this guy Chuck. So we get Chuck and Shockwave and my brother, 4 of us in this little tiny, Hyundai Accent, driving all the way out to this Vermont.
All
location.
You big wrestlers in a
exactly.
tiny Hyundai.
Well, exactly.
That's the show in itself right there.
Well,
brother.
Well, actually, the funny thing is, I'm not a tall guy myself. And, back then I was about 175 pounds. So I was smaller. My brother's a little bit taller than me, but Shockwave's like 5'4", 5'5". He's a small little guy. And, we're driving, and my brother takes something and throws it out of the window. And Shockwave, being one of our coaches and trainers, and my brother being younger than me by like 3 or 4 years, gets slapped in the back of the head. And Shockwave just says to him, he goes, "What the hell, dude?" He's like, "Why'd you throw that out the window? What do you think Captain Planet would do to you right now?" And like, and to me, that was just, it's a memory of mine from the road days in wrestling.
That's awesome. That's
and
an
brings
awesome
me
story.
back to Captain. So I want my Captain America Planet toy, or Captain Planet toys, because of Shockwave and his.
You should just get
brother.
Tony's Fix to customize you one, just so you have an awesome one. Right?
Yeah. So that's a line that I think would be really cool.
Because it wouldn't be a hard custom to make for sure. Right?
No, at least just grab a Superman McFarlane or something and go from there. Yeah, it's a cool. So that's a line that I think would be cool to get. Yeah. So then next would be your.
There was a lot of big names that were in that cartoon for sure. That voice actor for that show.
Yeah, so we won't spend too much time on this, but if you want to highlight anything you didn't cover, you had Black Star here, and again, yours weren't in any specific order. They're just lines that you'd be interested in.
Yeah, Black Star, like I said, was one of my. It was probably one of the last action figure lines I got into that wasn't already something I was into, and it was just, I was a big Thunder the Barbarian fan, big Conan fan. I played with He-Man figures. I only had a couple myself, but my cousin had everything, right? Thought Castle Grayskull was awesome. But I loved Black Star mostly because of its kind of like the Trobbits were a callback to the Hobbits, which I was a big Tolkien fan already. Black Star was just a cool, type of character. And then, of course, the Warlock, right? I love dragons and all that, right? So as far as I know, Jeff, I think Hasbro has that license still, and they're not doing anything with it, of course. So, because I think they got it from Remco, who had the original line, I believe. But the original Black Star figures were sort of like a cross between. They had the articulation of He-Man figures, but they were a little taller and they didn't have like the squat position, right? They were kind of like stand up, type of characters. So really cool though. I love the little demons and the Trobbits though, because they were just basically like hard rubber statues that came with each of the figures, right?
I see that. I just pulled them up on the I just pulled them up on the side screen here to take a look at them. So
like I said though, I'm still surprised no one has made this figure line yet, because it would just blow it. Like Ramen should have taken Black Star instead of doing Brave Star, right? Because he would have been already sold out and completely killed it.
That's an interesting one. Okay, so I thought I saw some reference to that being that I thought I saw that Black Star was tied to the He-Man stuff and the people who made Master so the universe, and like I thought it was all created by like the same like cartoon line or like production company and stuff, because there was references online about Black Star potentially having like lore associated with He-Man and
I
that
think
world.
I think it was all done by Filmation, so that makes sense, right?
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. So there is some sort of connection, and I was just looking it up. The Black Star connection.
Galoob,
So there
that's
is
who
some
made the
sort
toys,
of
right? But it was under license, yeah. So Galoob.
Yeah, there's a whole thing if you look on YouTube. There's
Oh,
the
here,
Black Star
Allison answered
connection.
that. Black Star was Filmation. Technically, Mattel
Okay.
would have the best chances. They're already doing cartoons. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like Jeff said, maybe now that Hasbro and Mattel are partnering together on some lines, maybe we can get them.
That'd be cool. Cool. Yeah. So that's that. I'll jump into the next one for me. This is my number 2. So this is Hercules, the Legendary Journey toy line. So I went with this one because it's the one that's most common to me. I didn't have cable as a kid, so Saturdays this was on Fox, and it was always on every weekend, or Sundays maybe is when it was, when I didn't watch football and stuff. So
this
and
is
the
on
reason
Saturdays because I remember like later on towards the end of like the whole Saturday morning cartoon era, it was like some cartoons in the morning, and then Hercules, Xena would come on, and some other shows like Power Rangers and things like that.
Yeah. I think for this one, the reason I like this one and I picked it was more around the idea that, and this goes back to my earlier question with you, would you want it to be based off the actors, right? Like the likeness, right? For me, I actually don't care to have the likeness from this show. I more so just pick this one because it's the most close to Hercules that I could think of. Then that's what comes to mind for me. I just like the fact that it would open up the pathway to getting things like Hera, Ares, Xena, like you said, right? So like all of those. So to me, modern articulation, these would fall right into my Savage Crucible and Mythic Legions, and go right into that.
The characters that they had on this show, like some of the mythical creatures and stuff, were very, for a TV show, right? They were well done. Everybody knows this show was very campy, right? But it was still it was still an awesome show, right? And so was Xena, right? It was just that type of thing. So I mean, yeah, they would definitely make a great figure line. Like I had the Kevin Sorbo figure from Cull.
I remember there was some there. I think these came out with the Hercules toy line. But for me, it would be that modern articulation, that not quite 6-inch scale, but 1/12 scale to the other. So I think this would be a really cool line, and really what it would do is it open up that world to the mythos of the Greek mythos, and it could be a spin on it from that show. So to me, that's what it was. And again,
that's kind of like my take on the Sherlock thing, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be the likenesses, but the what it opens up as far as like the characters and the different timelines and stuff that show took place in, that'd be just kind of the cool way to go.
Yeah, I mean, like for this, the waves would be on and on and on and on, because you could do so much. You could just add like some unnamed character and make a name for him. That's why I think it would be cool. And this goes back to like the Crucible stuff, where Rob's talked about wanting to pull certain IPs into his line, and that the Crucible allows for that, and it's a unique perspective. So maybe we could see some of this. I really like some of those 5K.
That Savage Crucible thing, you could see some Black Star for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that you have the whole situation with the 5K toys. You have their their god of war and things like that. So they're cool, but I would like a more consistent tone and character build for them. So that's the reason I picked this one. Your next one is one that I love, but I have something already that covers me for this. So I'll let you talk about that one. This is one that I would have picked if I didn't have something already. So I put Planet of the Apes.
I've always been a huge Planet of the Apes fan. I used to sit on Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoons, and watch the TV series, right? Back from the 60s, back when they actually just had guys dressed up in costumes, and all that stuff. Love the Planet of the Apes. Love the movies, all of it, right? I would take a Planet of the Apes toy line, created in today's modern articulation, throw some soft goods on them and stuff like that. It'd just be so awesome.
Yeah.
The Return of the Planet of the Apes cartoon was a bizarre acid trip of a cartoon.
Okay.
Like the apes had like army jeeps and tanks and stuff they drove. It was very like Vietnam style military equipment that they were driving, as opposed to the horses and all this other stuff, right? So, and of course, it all takes time. It all takes place in like different, time zones, right? So it worked for Planet of the Apes, but so you could do a Planet of the Apes from the very beginning to the very end and have such an array of toys. It would just be, it'd be ridiculous. So.
Well, this is just knockoff to AWOC, right? As
yes,
Punk would say to me, this is
well, that's why they
AWOC.
called it Planet of the Apes, right? Because AWOC is AWOK and Planet of the Apes is POTA, right? So they kind of, they just, they stole the whole concept from Jason.
It makes total sense to me. I mean, I stand by it and I believe it. Just like Spaceballs and whatever the other one Captain Planet. We know Superman is made after him. So
Starcom was a good show. I like Starcom.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a good cartoon. I just watched a couple episodes of that recently. Okay. You'd like Starcom, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one was interesting to me because I love Planet of the Apes. That said, I didn't watch the old ones. I do have them on my Plex, and I have at some point I want to go through and watch the old ones. I've watched since the 2000s when like Mark Wahlberg was in one, and then they did the reboots and they did the last three, and now the fourth one's coming out.
The fourth one looks
which they're supposed to be. There's supposed to be two more after that one from what I've been reading online. I am so pumped. And I wasn't sure if it was too graphic, the first three. So I watched them with my youngest. So Chase and I watched them a few months ago while we were in the basement. I was working on Hexa Stack and he watched it with me. They weren't too bad. There's a little bit like with the hand getting bit off in the first or second one there. And
there's some violence, but not it's not overly done, right? And it flows well with the movie, right? It's not like just violence for violence sake, right? It's
exactly. Yep. Yeah, so I'm really pumped about this new one. Chase and I are going to go see that in the theater and probably see the whole family. So really looking forward to that one.
So the old ones are hard to watch if you've watched the new ones because they are 60s, movies, right? So you got to keep that in mind. Like my younger brother-in-law, when the original, I think it was the second new one came out, I had the originals. He's like, I want to watch those. So I gave him the DVDs, right? And he's like,
gotcha.
He like watched the first one. He's like, the first one was okay. And then after that, I kind of got lost. So it's like,
gotcha.
But it's that way, right? But like you like AWOC and stuff, so you'll probably like them.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna check them out, catch up on them. It'll be filler, and
those ones
and whatnot.
Chase would probably really enjoy because they're very, that 60s, 70s type of, thing. Very little violence, much easier to follow. Yeah, all that kind of stuff, right?
Cool. Yeah, so that's your number one, which I love it. And it just goes back to the fact that I've got Animal Warriors: The Kingdom. You could customize those and do a bunch of this.
Well, that's
stuff
why
here.
I love the AWOCs, dude. I mostly collect just the ape figures, right? I mean,
yeah. So my number one, and again, this goes back to and folks that have followed me on any of the streams where we've talked about this or people have talked about it. It is something that's been true to me from the early 90s. I loved Pirates of the Dark Water. This to me was a great cartoon that ended way too soon. I was so bummed out when it ended.
This would definitely make my top 10 for
Ren
for figures.
Yeah, so Ren, I just think it would be so cool, like in today, I wouldn't want it to be as cartoonish. And if you look at most of the things that I picked from the cartoons, they're bright, they've got a lot of color to them, whatnot. This is actually one I wouldn't want it to be as cartoonish. I'd want it to be darker. I'd want it to have more, and then I'll use the example that AWOC has more of the thing I can watch and play with my son, and the Savage Crucible has that more dark, grimy kind of like realistic to it. I would like to see this in a more darker tone.
If they took Pirates of the Dark Water and kind of made it like Pirates of the Caribbean, that dark piratey type of thing, not a lot of live action, but that dark, pirate tone. Right? It would be so badass, dude.
So exactly. Think Pirates of the Caribbean darkness, right? Because at times it had the dark and whatnot. So this would be such a cool toy line, I think. I still remember as a kid, we'd go to the theme parks and we get those really cheap plastic swords that always broke when they get home. Yep. I purposely break it to make it look like the sword that Ren would use because I thought it was like the coolest thing when I was a kid. So, for me, this is my favorite one. They could, the problem is the lure is only so long. It doesn't go that far. As far as I'm aware, there's not a lot of deep lore to it. So there wouldn't be too many, too far that the line could go.
But
But I
the
think it would
thing
be
is,
cool.
with the way that story was done, you could definitely open it up. If you did a remake of the cartoon, right? There's so much that they could do with it, make new
Yeah.
characters. I mean, you
Oh,
could definitely
absolutely.
expand on it for sure, right? It would be,
Yep.
as it is, it's a very short run cartoon. It's a very
Yeah.
limited line, but it's got so much potential.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So that's the slideshow.
Yeah. This
So
one and this came out, and then they had that Disney did that Treasure Planet where they had like it was like Treasure Island done like in the future in a space type of setting.
okay. Was that okay? So that was like the mid 2000s, I think, right? It was like a
Yeah.
cartoon.
Yep.
It was like a 3D. Was it like a 3D one?
I don't know if it was 3D. It was highly animated though. So
Okay. Yeah, no, I just looked it up. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
like those movies and this show, right, are kind of like the whole space pirates thing that I keep telling you about, right?
Gotcha.
That's that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
feel, right? It's like
Yep.
pirates, but in a modern kind of space type of theme,
Yeah,
setting, right?
that's cool. I've never seen that. I might have to watch Treasure Planet with my little dude because
Yeah,
it's like a
that's a good.
Disney
He'd
movie.
love that, dude. It's just like
Yeah.
Treasure Island, but done,
Okay.
in space.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, the Pirates of the Dark Water would be a really cool line. One of my favorite ones. I just want somebody to get it and produce it.
So
Maybe I can get somebody in the Legions customizers to customize me some Legions to
Ice
fit the main
Pirates.
characters.
I just
Exactly.
watched Ice Pirates a couple weeks ago. Hyperdelic.
I don't know what that is.
That is that's a movie from I don't know, probably like
Oh
1980,
goodness.
1981. It is so cheesy. It's kind of like you'd probably like it since you love Spaceballs, but it's it is typical like late 70s, early 80s,
Yeah,
sci-fi fare, right?
I
It's
just
just
looked it up. I see it.
yeah.
I can
It's
see
probably
it.
got
Yeah.
like a 14 score on Rotten Tomatoes or something like
Oh,
that.
I don't even know. Looks like Princess Leia in
Yeah.
one of it. She looks like that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
real quick, what were two of your honorable mentions that didn't make your list?
Oh, so it's cheesy, but there was a cartoon in the 90s. It was like the football players, but they were like the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah. It was
For
Arthur King, Knights of the Round
yeah,
Table. Arthur
yeah.
King
So
became King Arthur. Yep, because
I'd like to see that, but not the cartoon.
yeah,
I'd like to see the King Arthur, a King Arthur line to fit into that
yeah. Oh,
fantasy
definitely, dude.
line
Yeah,
with a table, and each figure comes with a piece of the table, and you get the big table put
yeah.
together,
That'd be a good
something like
idea
that.
right there. Yeah, comes with a
Something.
table with a sword or whatever on it, like
Yep.
as part of the
Yeah,
thing.
Excalibur or whatever,
Yep.
right? Yeah, so that, and then another one would be Robin Hood. So like
Oh,
a really cool Robin Hood line would be like, and
we've never
it's
had a
funny.
decent Robin Hood line. I mean, the one that was made for the Robin Hood Kevin Costner movie was decent, but
Okay.
it wasn't. It was. They were based off of the Superpowers bodies, so they were like 5-inch. They were for the time they were good figures, but yeah,
Yeah.
a modern articulation, deep story Robin Hood would be sweet.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is, and this is cheesy too, but I loved as a kid growing up watching the Disney animation Robin Hood,
Yeah.
which it seems like the AWOC is actually having a little reference to that in
Yep.
there as one of their
That was my
their
favorite
bird
Disney
stretch
movie ever,
goals.
is the Disney Robin Hood with the fox.
Yeah, it's like
Robin
one
Hood.
of my favorite ones. I've tried to get my kids to watch it, and they're like, "This is so dumb, Dad. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
watching
know.
this." I'm like, "It
My
is so
son said the
cool."
same thing. I was like, "This is my favorite Disney movie." He's like,
Yep.
"Dad, this movie sucks." I'm like, "This movie
It's
does not
great.
suck."
It was so good, and like I love that, and that goes. Honestly, I think that's probably where my passion and love for anamorphic characters came from.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
that long that show? So again, I say that I like the Robin Hood. What I'd like is a human
Yeah.
version of the Robin Hood line.
Yeah.
I don't want the anamorphic version. AWOC will fill that gap for
When
me.
I was a kid, I had the Green Arrow Superpowers figure, which that was when Oliver Queen looked just like Robin Hood, right? He had the green hat,
Okay.
the green suit, and that's all he ever used him for. He had the green bow and arrow. It was like he was Robin Hood. He was never a Green Arrow. He was always Robin Hood. Always
Gotcha.
fighting the bad guys as Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what did you have as honorable mentions?
So two that I had as honorable mentions. One, I just, like I said, I talked to Allison about it today, but it's something I've always liked. It was Krull, which we talked about as one of the
I haven't watched that yet.
Gotta watch. So that was a line that I've always wanted to have as figures. And then I know there's a 4-inch version of some of these characters out there, and there's been some 12-inch versions, but like I would love to see a line of figures based on like Tombstone, not necessarily go with the movie, but like a 6-inch Western toy line would be cool, right?
Yep.
And you could do Tombstone, you could do, Lone Ranger, any kind of Western type of thing, right? But I just think like the Chicken Fried Toys has the 4-inch line, which is cool, but I'd love to see it in a 6-inch.
Just the detail.
Yeah.
The detail looks good on a shelf.
Modern articulated cowboys would just be fucking badass.
Yeah, that's cool. Good deal. So that brings us to a wrap on the main topic. And then kind of just, at this point, it's kind of we'll close up here. Main piece here is the show's changed a little bit, right? So there's a new format. We're going to try to keep it around an hour. Tonight we went a little bit longer. We'll loosen that. We'll tighten that up a little bit for folks. The branding's a little different. Provide your feedback. Let us know what looks good, what sucks. If the TOYLEET versus TOYLEET thing's cheesy and stupid, let us know. Try to get a little bit bigger into that. We'll add some things. This is really week 1 of the changeover of the branding and stuff. Really want anyone who's liking, subscribing, hit us up with your feedback. We'd really appreciate it.
Leave us a comment, leave us a like. Leave us you guys suck. It's okay. We'll take it off.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Any feedback is good feedback because it lets us know you're watching, and you give
look at that. Hyperdelic already said it. It's so bad it's great. Thank you, Hyperdelic.
Good. Thanks, dude. Thanks. Appreciate it.
He was saying that about the Ice Pirates movie, really.
Oh. That's awesome. That's awesome. In regards
I think I like the new, like I said, I like the new layout of the colors. I think those work perfect for cool. Like the colors that I was using and the colors that you have for Hexastack. So it works great. Depending on the topic, we'll go an hour usually, and then if it's a bigger topic, we can go hour and a half. But that's
absolutely
good. So
cool.
Like Travis said, any comments or feedback or anything you guys got or want to see or any topics you want us to cover, Briscoe, that's my Saturday night show.
Yeah, we'll do some stuff. I would just recommend you guys kind of stick around, check things out. Myself and Ed have some cool ideas of some things we want to do for the show to make it a little different, unique. Definitely some things coming for that. So keep your eye out and follow it. I think it'll be interesting, to see what folks see and kind of little what would they be like? Easter eggs type things that we do and stuff to make it fun and for the community and stuff.
Once we get some of things going, we're going to definitely have some more things thrown in here, some different slides and things like that, and hopefully at some point in time we'll get a sound effect board so we can actually flush a toilet if we have to.
I don't want to because that means I spend money on toys that suck,
right?
But hopefully we'll get to a point where it's not an issue.
Hey, you never know though, right? You look at some figures and you're just like, and it doesn't have to be a complete figure line, right? You could get one figure from a line that you just love, and it's like that figure is just trash, like the Joy Toy, right? Most of the Joy Toy that you've got are great, except
that one. That one would
right?
get the flush. That one army builder would get the flush, and then I mean the acid rain stuff. I would say could probably get flushed in some ways too.
For sure.
So that's that. We'll keep moving forward. Stick with us. We'll keep doing what works and tweaking things as we can. Next week, friends
over to see us.
Yeah. Next week, there's no show, right, Ed? I'm gonna be doing a little bit of traveling. You're gonna be, saying goodbye to Luke. And again, please, from myself and everyone in the chat and everyone who follows and is friends with you, Ed, tell Luke we said thank you. From those of us based here in the U.S., pass on our gratitude and appreciation for his service.
I definitely
in the military. So
I definitely will. Yep.
No show next week. We'll be thinking about you, and again, saying some prayers and wishing him the best on his travels.
It's gonna be a rough day for being a dad on Tuesday morning, honey.
I hear you, brother.
Loaded into a car with a recruiter and on his way off to the military, but I did it myself, and it was one of the best things I ever did for myself. So
I hope he enjoys it. I hope he gets to enjoy things. Is he a Pokemon game player? Because I saw a recent post on the internet. Somebody was sharing like a flyer that must be hanging around in the schools. I think it's local to me, maybe. And it was like, oh, do you like Pokemon? Are you trying to capture every Pokemon all over the globe? Do it for free and join the Navy. And I just laughed.
That's awesome.
That's laughed.
Awesome. So that was one of the reasons that he actually wanted to join the military to begin with, is just so if he wants to travel, he has the option to travel, and it's all taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't have to worry about all the nonsense. And he wants to see, Korea, and he wants to see Japan and places like that. So, he'll have that opportunity. I told him, like when he first goes in, he's going to be basically pretty much stationed, I believe, in Wyoming or Utah, I think.
South Dakota.
Yeah. Which he loves, right? Because that's like
Yeah.
right up his alley. I mean, that type of area, right? But,
yeah,
he can take and go and do some other things and see some other places of the world. So,
yeah, absolutely. That'll be good. So, yeah.
Yep.
And then, one of the things we like to do while we do our, shout out from the crick and we, pick a specific person, we just want to, throw a couple shout outs to folks in the community who are always very supportive of what we all do and whatnot, from Oz. So Astronoma's Toys, go check his stream out on Saturday. I know you'll be on that normally, Ed. I get the invite. It's Saturday nights, can be tough at times because I'm exhausted and whatnot. So if I'm not down in the factory opening the iPad, I don't always join.
This Saturday I might pop in, but I don't know if I'll be on all night because I'll probably be hanging out with Luke since I only have a couple days left and it's Easter, the night before Easter. So, but yeah, Saturday nights, Oz's Clubhouse is a great time. We all just hang out and bullshit for hours. I mean, hours, right? And it's a continuously changing cast of characters on there. So,
absolutely. And then I think one of our mutual, really what made the Ed and Travis connection here is our buddies over at Hella Dope Toys, always providing toys and being the worst kind of friend you can have because they're like a drug dealer and they just get you your plastic whenever you need it, and it's they just throw it over the fence and it lands on your porch the next day. And it has no dings and dents in the boxes. So if you're looking for products, go over and check out Hella Dope Toys and definitely buy your stuff from there, and if they're
check out their show Sunday nights, 9:00 Eastern time on their channel. Great show.
And then, Punk with Toys, he's a big supporter of everyone too. So he rambles for 3 hours and finds a way to hit a topic once in a while. So definitely go check his stuff out. And, if there's others that I didn't mention, Ed, I don't know if there's anybody else. Yes. Ted is a terrible friend. Yeah, I mean, like the C4s he would show up with, dude, just as a dealer, man. At the PowerCon, sure, I never bought a C4. Those things were just dropped on my desk there, and he made sure I was fully charged up.
If we talk about some of the other people in the chat, right? Like Allison Troy does some great coloring on her YouTube channel, and she does a show on Sundays where she colors live with somebody. I'll be jumping on with her sometime in May. Hyperdelic does some great toy reviews and things like that on his channel. Another thing we got coming up for May, May the 4th is Star Wars Day. I know it's a ripoff of your favorite movie, Spaceballs, but
I'll be busy combing the desert.
Yes, man, we ain't found shit. But so May is, of course, May the 4th, so it's Star Wars Day, right? So for May, a bunch of us are all going to be doing Power of the Force figure reviews for just for shits and giggles, reviewing some old ass figures that are just garbage. So it's like, they shouldn't say they're garbage, but
I should look online and see if I can 3D print myself a dark helmet and then do a review and throw that up here for it and be like, this is my Power of the Force.
Yeah, you should, dude. That'd be awesome, right? That'd be perfect. That's exactly what it's all about, right? Allison wants to put it together just as something to do to have fun, kind of blow YouTube's mind. Why are all these Power of the Force figures getting, reviewed when they're from like the 90s, because it's like going to throw off the algorithm so bad. So that's right. Absolutely. #TOYLEET for life.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Punk, you are part of TOYLEET. And I think that's something we didn't cover is we will invite guests onto the show, mostly members of TOYLEET. And, we might expand beyond that. Right now, Ed and I are just trying to get a cadence with one another with the new format and stuff. But we'll definitely bring some folks on the show to, talk about, their ventures and promote themselves and just kind of bull crap and maybe, get them in on the top 5, that we do or whatever it is, maybe they'll do a review on, maybe they got something they want to throw in the TOYLEET or, TOYLEET or TOYLEET, so, we'll get there, but yeah. So, tons of great people in the community. Realm of Toys, he's a great dude. Frank, if you haven't done with him, he does a lot of good artwork and stuff. And photography. He's the official photographer of Hexastack for me. So anything I have for quality Frank product awesome pictures.
And then of course I moderate for Random Diorama on Friday nights. He does his build and stream. Or craft and build, craft and chill and craft, whatever the hell the show's called. I can't remember. But that goes on anywhere from 10:30 to midnight on Friday night. So yeah, it's a great show. If you guys, anybody's interested in building dioramas or how to craft things out of foam, he does a lot of great tips on that. So.
I'm not even gonna acknowledge that one, Punk.
The Blue Mule. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can actually use that for wiping before you put it in the toilet. Might leave a little lint on your backside, unlike Charmin toilet paper. But
I haven't even opened mine. I will open it here soon. Check it out. But yeah. So yeah, that kind of wraps it.
Yep.
You know, a couple things. Thanks again. We won't be here next week. Come check us out the following week. I believe that's the 9th. We'll be live. The topic is not been decided yet, but Ed and I will bounce some things around. If some folks have some ideas, shoot them our way. We'll appreciate the feedback. And in that
definitely,
note,
if you guys have feedback for us or something you want us to cover as a topic, feel free to shoot it out to us. You can contact me. I'm on Instagram under this name. Travis is on Instagram under that name, or you can leave a comment right here on this YouTube channel.
Yep. And that said, stay TOYLEET. Keep your collection elite, because nobody admires a shit show toilet.
That's right.